Throw down a list of the great races and you'll no doubt get the likes of the Indy 500 and 24-hour of Le Mans. But the one race that I look forward to is one that takes place on a hill in the middle of the wood.
Hang on. Look at the, just straight away, look at the car wedged in between, right in the middle here. Is that the sort of prime thing that we're looking for? Mayhem. I think that's probably what we're getting in this race.
Place on a hill in the middle of the worst state in Australia. Look, I'm sorry New South Wales, but you have this, and this. But getting back on track here, the race in question is the Bogan Festival, that is the Bathurst 1000, and will serve as the final round of this year's Supercars Championship. Now I'm sure some of you will be wondering how this could compare with the likes of the Indy 500, Daytona 500, or the 24-hour Le Mans. Well, sit down, if you aren't already, and let me give you the skinny.
So I'll be honest, I'm not a huge motor racing fan. I do massively, so F1, MotoGP as well, and even Le Mans. You can understand the excitement about it. You can understand the skill required, the balls you've got to have to do some of these things. NASCAR, yeah, that's just going around in circles. Yeah, I'm not sure how much skill is involved in that, but I may be wrong. So if this is on another level, yeah, you must have some balls of steel to do this, I reckon. I would say, actually, talking about the F1, for example, the only real, from a non-motorsport person, and same as MotoGP, but the only good time to watch F1 is right at the start and right at the end. The start is for when the crashes happen, and then the end is to see who the winner is. And everything else in between is just going round and round. That may upset people. Sorry.
In 1960, the Light Car Club of Australia organised a race called the Armstrong 500, which was being held at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit over 500 miles with standard production cars. It was divided into classes based on engine capacity, or price, or the customer's hair colour, but by 1962, the track surface was falling apart like Joe Soward in a heatwave, and thus the race needed a new home, and they found it at the Mount Panorama circuit in Bathurst, New South Wales. The 3.9 mile circuit hosted its first event in 1963. The race was extended from 500 miles to 1,000 kilometers in 1973, and also served as the 8th round of the World Touring Car Championship back in 1987. Nowadays, the 1,000 kilometer event is run as part of the popular Supercars Championship that is held throughout Australasia. Known as the Great Race down in this part of the world, this event has seen some insane races and some spectacular moments in its history, and there is every reason why you should be watching this event. So I'm going to provide a rundown of this year's event and convince you as to why this is the great race. So as I've mentioned,
if I'm honest, I've never heard of it. I have never heard of the Bathurst, I say Bath, Bathurst 1000. It's not an event I've heard of. I wonder if my dad is into motorbikes, my stepdad's into F1 and motorbikes. I wonder if he's heard of it. Might have to find out.
Before, the race is held at the Mount Panorama circuit at Bathurst. This thing is regarded as one of the best racetracks in the world, and having made the trip to the venue over the last couple of years, there's good reason for it. The first turn drivers have to negotiate is Hell Corner. It's easy to get it wrong here, and if you do, you're going to have a real bad time. It's also vital to get a good exit out of this corner for a good run up Mountain Straight, the second longest straight on the circuit. The cars will become slightly airborne over the hump before heading into the negatively cambered Griffin's Bend. But be careful not to stray too far offline here, otherwise you're gonna smack. Running up the hill, the next series of corners is at the cutting, which has a steep 1 in 6 gradient exit, and trust me, it's a bastard to walk up. But with the cars, it's even more precarious, as any wrong footing will lead to big problems.
Oh!
That incident? Well, to explain what happened here, I've drafted in an Aussie to give you the lowdown.
Seriously, a lot can happen over the course of 1,000 kilometers. And a perfect example of this was in 2005, where two drivers would quite literally go head to head, but outside of the car. The two drivers, being Marcus Ambrose and Greg Murphy, would collide on lap 144 and leave behind what looked like a 8-cylinder car park behind them.
Oh,
This was
my
ahead of Murphy
word.
of the exit of Griffin's, but quickly ended up sideways after being tagged by Murphy. Well, depending on how you look at it. Ambrose's car would then mount the barrier and almost look like it was going to fall over the other side into the bushland. After the two cars came to a stop, Murphy stood in front of his car as Ambrose got out and made his charge towards him, taking off his helmet, then his balaclava, and of course, his gloves. The two drivers had some friendly words, pointed fingers, and yelled at each other like two blokes having a disagreement at the pub. The legend of this moment will always be in my memory. Two blokes wanting to just beat the living daylights out of each other on a mountain out in the middle of nowhere in New South Wales. This to me is Australian motorsport in its prime.
I think that adds to my point though, that the only time that I'm interested in motorsports is when you see crashes and things like that. They are the exciting times. Yeah, I get it. I understand the skill, the adrenaline that you need to overcome as well, and the G-force and all that sort of stuff. I appreciate that, but it's like the best bit of a cricket match is when the ball ends up hitting someone's nuts. Let's be honest. So it's coming across straight away that the Bathurst 1000 is an event where anything goes, anything can happen, there can be carnage, and that's what the Aussies love. It's. I said this on other things. I said this on AFL. It is so Aussie. This is coming across as being so Aussie.
Thank you very much, Gio, for coming along. So coming out of the cutting, we're into Reed Park, which for the first section of that could be rather uneventful. However, the second
Look at the view.
You kind of need to get that right. Otherwise, you're in for a big-ass crash.
Ooh.
But if you do manage to crash at this section of the track, at least you'll be at peace of mind knowing that you're at the top of the mountain and with the fine folk that camp at this section of the track.
This is definitely a bogan race.
The next section of the track is called Salmon Park, and this is where the track begins to edge a little more on the scary side. In fact, with it comes the shortest horror story in motor racing history, Wide at the Great. Why is this scary? Well...
Oh. Oh.
Craig Loud, Singer replay. Steve Johnson had just got Taylor. It just got away from him here. You'll see it. Oh, they both went in.
How to wreck your car.
Going on from there, the cars will scream through McPhillamy Park, a fast section of the track with a panoramic view across Brock's skyline that reminds you how bloody high you are.
Has anyone... Oh, you probably have. The amount of times you drive, you're driving and you're almost on top of a hill and you look down. And when I'm driving, I really struggle to look down because I think I get that thought that my hands are all of a sudden going to turn just because I'm looking down when you're looking down the hill. This is probably the worst bit for me if I was driving this route is looking down that hill. It's like when you're scared of heights. Not that I'm massively scared of heights, but don't look down.
So imagine if Frank Montagny was driving. Then we begin to run down the hill, beginning with the S's. It's crucial that you slow down enough through this section, otherwise you're going to learn the hard way that car versus will often be big ouch. Then there's the Dipper, basically the Aussie version of the corkscrew, only with this one there's no runoffs, and it's pretty scary. Coming out of the Dipper, you then make the approach toward Forest Elbow, which is a prime overtaking opportunity, provided you do it right, before making the long run down Conrod Straight. Here the cars get close to or at 300 kilometers an hour. The road right...
What's that in miles per hour? Just over about 200? There's 1.6 kilometers is 1 mile. It's quite fast.
Rises and falls away as the cars build up speed. For the cars behind, it's an opportunity to get into the draft and prepare for another move at the chase, which is another great opportunity
bloody
for
fast.
passing. The one thing you don't want at this part of the track is a tyre failure. But guess what? That's happened here before. Exiting the chase leads you...
Hang on. Look at this. Hang on. Let's go back. Sorry. I've lost it. Hang on.
Passing. The one thing you don't want at this part of the track is a tyre failure. But guess what? That's happened here before. Exiting the chase...
It doesn't even look like a car anymore. It's literally in pieces.
Easy, you reckon? Yeah, tell that to Alexander Rossi. And therein is a lap of Mount Panorama, but really, me explaining it doesn't do justice. You need to witness these cars try and put 650 horsepower to the ground on a track barely wide enough for luge racing. As for the teams and drivers, if you're unfamiliar with any of these cats, I'll give you the skinny on some drivers of note. There is Scott McLaughlin, 3-time Supercars champion and the defending Bathurst 1000 winner. Craig Lowndes, 7-time winner on the mountain and 3-time Supercars champion. Jamie Whincup, 7-time Supercars champion and 4-time winner of the Great Race. In fact, overall, there are 11 people on the grid who have won the Bathurst 1000 race in the past, although there will be plenty of people hungry for their first Bathurst title, including Toyota Racing Series champion Thomas Randall.
God, he looks young. He looks really young. Oh man, I wish at his age I had the balls to do what he's doing.
British Formula 4 champion Scott Pye, Blancpain GT Series and Supercars champion Shane van Gisbergen, Japan F3 champion and Jaguar F1 test driver James Courtney, and Brody Kostecki, who is... On a serious note, this guy's f***ing fast. The grid is sorted through a qualifying format where 11th place downwards is decided through the first qualifying session, while the top 10 are decided in a one-lap shootout, which is one of the more spectacular parts of not just the weekend, but the entire season of Supercars racing. Pole position is not too bad, although not really vital. Since 1997, there have only been 5 occasions where the pole sitter took victory at the end of the day, so there is a good chance that the fastest car on Saturday will not claim the Peter Brock Trophy on Sunday. So this year's race starts at 11:30am Aussie time on the 18th of October, and I beg and plead with anyone unfamiliar with this race to give it a watch. Or don't, and I could just go f*** myself. Or perhaps there are some people viewing this who have...
Even that is so Aussie, isn't it? Yeah, if you don't want to watch it, I'll go fuck myself.
Have watched the race. What are your memories of this race? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. And always remember, keep it respectful, be wholesome, don't be a manus, and as always, I'll see you all later.
I was going to say, I don't know what a manus is. Or manus. Yeah. I may have to try and give it a watch if I can. Even if it's just those the qualifying rounds, because this race looks like a race where anything can happen. Now, I was told about this race by one of my subscribers, and he's told me how kangaroos can jump out randomly in front of cars, and anything goes. There is some serious speed. There is some very tight corners, and I just feel that there might be a little bit of carnage, which everyone loves carnage, let's be honest. I will try and give it a watch, and if I don't get to watch it live, I will try and watch it as a replay. Yeah. Has any of you been to Bathurst 1000? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments down below. I tell you what, it'd be interesting. One thing I always wonder, for example, with NASCAR and F1 and whatnot, is which is the race where you have to have the most skill. Now, F1 is crazy. You know, the speed. They mentioned about one of the races coming from F4. Now, F4 is nowhere near the standard of F1. It's nowhere near the standard. So, if an F4 racer is able to transfer across to this, the Bathurst 1000 and the Supercar series, what is the standard like compared to F1? I know it's a different race, different vehicles, but that would be interesting to know if anyone wants to let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time.